Have you ever felt like you are caught in a tug-of-war that you just cannot seem to win? You want to do what is right, you want to walk in the light, but there is this invisible force pulling you back into the shadows. It feels like you are fighting a battle against your own heart, and honestly, it is exhausting. You are not alone in this. We have all been there. Today, we are going to get real about that constant, silent struggle that trips up even the best of us. Carnal desires. You see, the enemy is not playing fair. He knows exactly where your walls are thin. He does not attack you where you are strong. He targets your blind spots. Think about a young man named Lucas. He was a pillar in his local fellowship, always the first to serve and the last to leave. Everyone looked up to him. But the enemy did not attack his theology. He used a subtle, emotional trap through a relationship that started off looking perfectly fine. It was a slow fade, a series of small compromises until suddenly he was completely off track. Or consider Sarah, a woman whose voice could bring the whole congregation to tears in worship. She was gifted and dedicated, but the enemy disguised a snare as a moment of sympathy from a stranger. It was not a sudden explosion. It was a slow, quiet drift into a mess she never intended to be in. Both of them had a calling, but they also had a crack in their armor. These stories are not here to shame us. They are here to wake us up. They reveal an uncomfortable truth. Our greatest vulnerability is that part of us that still craves the things of this world. But what are these desires really? To beat them, we have to call them out for what they are. It is not just about physical urges. In the scriptures, the flesh is that stubborn, inner inclination to put me before God. It is that whisper that says, I want what I want, right now, regardless of the cost. It is pride. It is that green-eyed monster of envy. It is being lazy when you know you should be moving. And, yes, it is the lust that clouds your judgment. If you are still watching, it is because this hits home for you. You are tired of the cycle. I want to ask you a personal favor. If this message speaks to you, hit that subscribe button on my channel. It helps more people find this content, and it tells the algorithm that this conversation matters. And if you are ready to take a stand, drop a comment below saying, I choose God over my carnal desires. Because here is the bottom line. You are not the only one feeling this. The battle is fierce, but the victory is already yours if you know where to look. Let us dig into how we got here, and, more importantly, how we get out. Lesson 1. The Trap of History. To really understand why we fall, we have to look at the giants who walked the path before us. It is easy to think that if you are a person of faith, you are somehow immune to these traps. But look at the story of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. Their downfall was not about some sudden, wild passion. It was about a quiet, creeping desire for autonomy. Eve looked at the fruit and saw 3 things. It was good for food, it was pleasing to the eye, and it was a shortcut to wisdom. She wanted the power to define her own reality, to be like God without actually following His lead. That desire for control, for more than what God had already provided, is the exact same hook that catches us today. Then we look at King David. He was a man who truly loved God, a warrior and a leader, yet he fell hard. It started on a rooftop. He saw Bathsheba, and in that split second, he had a choice. He could have looked away. He could have walked back inside. But he let that flicker of desire take root. He nurtured it. He entertained the thought, and it quickly spiraled into a mess of deception, adultery, and even murder to cover his tracks. David's life shows us that even the most dedicated can be blindsided if they do not guard their heart. One look, one moment of letting your guard down can lead to consequences that ripple through your entire family and legacy. And what about Solomon? He was the wisest man to ever walk the earth, yet his later years were marked by deep spiritual decline. He had everything: wealth, influence, and the ear of God. But his appetite for pleasure, for more wives, for more indulgence, eventually turned his heart away from his Creator. He allowed his desires to dictate his lifestyle, and bit by bit, those choices led him into the very idolatry he once warned others against. These are not just ancient stories, they are mirrors. Adam and Eve, David and Solomon, they all had one thing in common. They allowed their internal cravings to become their external compass. The enemy knows this pattern better than we do. He knows that if he can tempt you in your weak spot, he can pull you off course and destroy the testimony you have spent years building. Every time you feel that pull, remember, it is not new, and you are not the first to face it. But you do not have to follow in their footsteps. Lesson 2. The anatomy of a downfall. So, why are these desires so incredibly loud and persistent? It comes down to a fundamental conflict that is constantly playing out inside you. Think of it as a tug-of-war between your spirit and your fallen nature. Romans 7 makes it clear that this isn't just a bad habit. It is a direct attack on your inner design. These carnal impulses are like a short-term loan that promises quick satisfaction, but the interest rates are astronomical. The enemy knows how to exploit this. He fills your mental space with images, fleeting thoughts, and situations that make the wrong path look like the only path. When you give in to these impulses, the fallout is rarely just personal. It is like a stone thrown into a pond. The ripples go much further than you think. First, there is the spiritual cost. You lose that sense of closeness with God, that quiet peace that usually anchors your soul. Even if you know His grace is big enough, sin creates a wall of guilt and shame that keeps you from running to Him when you need Him most. This leads to a nasty cycle. You feel bad, you try to fix it on your own, you fail, and then the cycle repeats. Then there is the impact on your life outside of your head. Your testimony takes a hit. People see the disconnect between what you say you believe and how you are actually living, which can push others away from the faith you are trying to represent. Relationships that you hold dear, like your marriage or your closest friendships, start to erode because secrets and selfishness are the ultimate enemies of intimacy. What starts as a little bit of fun or a harmless indulgence quickly turns into a chain. Before you know it, you are not the one in the driver's seat anymore. Your cravings are. You become a slave to the very thing you thought you were just enjoying. It is a trap that steals your freedom, your joy, and your future. Understanding this is the first step to breaking the cycle. You have to see it for what it is, a thief that is trying to rob you of the life you were called to live. Lesson 3. The roadmap to true freedom. Here is the good news. You are not stuck in this loop forever. Victory is not just a nice idea. It is a reality you can live out, but it requires a shift in how you fight. Stop trying to rely solely on your own willpower. If willpower were enough, you would have already won this battle a long time ago. Instead, you need to invite the Holy Spirit to do the heavy lifting from the inside out. The first move is radical honesty. You have to stop playing hide and seek with your own struggles. Darkness loves secrecy, but the moment you bring your battle into the light, it loses its power. Acknowledge where you are, confess it to God, and if you are really serious about change, find a trusted mentor or a mature friend who can hold you accountable. Transparency is the door to your freedom. Think of it as a daily surrender. Every single morning, before the day gets hectic, give your thoughts, your eyes, and your emotions to Christ. When the flesh starts screaming for attention, you have to respond with the truth. I am not under the control of these cravings. I am under the lordship of Christ. Walking in the Spirit is not a one-time choice. It is a lifestyle. It means staying in constant conversation with God. Pray before you feel the pressure. Pray while you are in the middle of it. and pray even when you feel like you have won. Fill your mind with His Word, because the more space you give to the truth, the less room there is for the lies that fuel your cravings. And remember, sometimes you have to run. The Bible doesn't say to sit there and debate with temptation. It says to flee. Like Joseph, who didn't stay to negotiate with Potiphar's wife, but fled and ran outside. You need to identify your triggers. If a certain place, a habit, or a person is constantly pulling you away from your values, you have to be bold enough to walk away. Change your routine, block the access, and cut the cord. It might feel drastic, but your freedom is worth it. Stop feeding the flesh and start fueling your spirit with worship, discipline, and the Word. You were built for victory, not for defeat. Keep your eyes on the finish line and trust that He is the one giving you the strength to stand tall. Wrapping this up, let us look at the bigger picture. We have walked through the reality of the struggle, the warnings from history, and the practical strategy to regain your freedom. It is easy to feel the weight of these desires, but do not let that weight pin you down. You are not meant to live in a state of constant defeat. The battle is real, yes, but the victory is already guaranteed for those who rely on the power of the Holy Spirit. Do not buy into the enemy's favorite lies. He wants you to think you are too far gone, or that your specific struggle is somehow too big for God's grace to cover. That is just noise designed to keep you sidelined. The truth is, the blood of Christ is more than enough to cleanse you, and His Spirit is more than enough to sustain you every single day. You are not defined by your failures, and you are certainly not a slave to your impulses unless you choose to remain one. If this message has hit home, and you are ready to declare war on your carnal desires, I want you to make your stand. Take a moment right now and write in the comments, "By the power of God, I am free from my carnal desires." Let's hold each other accountable in this. And if you are finding strength in these lessons, make sure to subscribe to my channel. We are building a community here dedicated to living with authentic power and real victory. Thank you for being here, for being honest, and for choosing to walk in the light. Keep your head up, stay focused on the truth, and I will see you in the next video.